Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. I've always believed in trust, especially within the sacred bond of marriage. That trust shattered the moment I glanced at the security footage. My world crumbled in an instant, revealing a side of my wife, Emma, that I never imagined existed. It's a typical Monday morning at Syntech Corp, and I'm nursing my second cup of coffee, trying to prepare for the weekly management meeting. The office buzzes with the usual chaos, phones ringing, keyboards clacking, and hushed conversations. My boss, Richard, had been acting strange lately, more irritable and evasive. I attributed it to the stress of upcoming mergers and acquisitions, never imagining the storm brewing behind the scenes. "David, can you come to my office for a moment?" Richard's voice booms over the intercom, jolting me from my thoughts. I set down my coffee, straighten my tie, and head towards his office, the unease settling in the pit of my stomach. I step into Richard's office, noticing the tension in the air. He motions for me to sit, his usually confident demeanor replaced by a strained expression. "We have a serious issue," he begins, sliding a folder across the desk. "Some critical documents are missing, and your ring was found at the scene." My mind races, confusion mingling with panic. "What? My ring? How is that possible?" "We've reviewed the security footage," Richard continues, his eyes narrowing. "And it shows Emma, your wife, entering the restricted area. She stole the documents and left your ring behind." I feel like I've been punched in the gut. "Emma? My Emma? This must be a mistake. There's no way she'd do that," I protest, though doubt starts to creep in. Richard sighs, pushing a laptop towards me. "See for yourself." I hit play, and the grainy black and white footage fills the screen. There she is, Emma, slipping into the restricted area, looking around nervously. My wedding ring glints on the desk, clearly visible. She picks up the documents, tucks them into her bag, and leaves, glancing over her shoulder one last time. The betrayal hits me like a ton of bricks. But something doesn't add up. Why would she implicate me? And then, a more horrifying thought crosses my mind. Is there more footage? I ask, my voice barely a whisper. Richard's lips press into a thin line. "Yes, David, there is." He plays another clip, and this time my heart plummets. It shows Emma in another part of the building, half naked, straddling Richard. Their passionate embrace is undeniable, their betrayal palpable. "Emma," I choke out, my mind struggling to process the images. My wife is not only betraying me professionally but personally, with my own boss. The room spins, and I grip the edge of the desk to steady myself. Richard's voice cuts through my haze. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way, David. But there's more you should know." "What more could there be?" I demand, anger rising to the surface. "It wasn't just a fling," he admits. "Emma and I have been seeing each other for months. She orchestrated this whole setup to get you out of the picture. She knew about the security cameras but planned to pin everything on you, thinking it would be enough to cover her tracks." The betrayal is overwhelming, but a cold, calculating part of me starts to take over. I need to think clearly. I need to act. "Why are you telling me all this now?" I ask, eyeing Richard warily. "Because I'm done with her games. She's becoming a liability, and I can't afford any distractions right now," he confesses. "I need you to help me clean this mess up." A part of me wants to punch him, to scream and rage, but I hold back. "And why should I trust you?" "Because we both have something to lose," he says, leaning forward. "And something to gain. If we handle this correctly, we can both walk away with our careers intact." I stare at him, my mind racing. This man, who has slept with my wife and conspired with her, is now offering me a lifeline. It's twisted and wrong, but it might be the only way out of this nightmare. Fine, I say, my voice cold. But know this, Richard, if you betray me again, I'll make sure you regret it. Richard nods, a flicker of respect in his eyes. Understood. Let's get to work. As I leave his office, a plan starts to form in my mind. Emma has played her hand, but she underestimates me. I'm not the fool she thinks I am. I'll uncover every sordid detail, expose her for who she truly is, and ensure she faces the consequences of her actions. And in the end, I'll walk away, leaving the wreckage of her life behind. The game is on, and I'm ready to play. The decision to align myself with Richard gnaws at me, but I push aside the revulsion. I remind myself that I'm not doing this to protect him, I'm doing it to destroy Emma's elaborate web of lies. As I exit Richard's office, I immediately text my best friend, Jake, to meet me at our usual bar after work. Jake's been my confidant since college, the one person I can trust implicitly. If anyone can help me navigate this mess, it's him. Throughout the rest of the day, I mechanically go through the motions at work, my mind racing with plans and counterplans. At 6 p.m. sharp, I walk into the brass tap, the familiar ambience providing a small measure of comfort. Jake's already there, a pint of beer in front of him. His easygoing smile fades when he sees the look on my face. "David, what the hell happened?" he asks, concern lacing his voice. I take a deep breath, the words tumbling out in a torrent. "Emma, she's been cheating on me with Richard. And it gets worse. She stole documents from the company and planted my ring at the scene to frame me. I saw the footage, Jake. It's real." Jake's eyes widen in shock. "Holy shit, man. That's insane. What are you going to do?" "I'm going to get back at her," I say, my voice steely. "Richard's agreed to help me, but I need someone I can trust on my side." "I need you." Jake nods without hesitation. "You know I've got your back." "What's the plan?" "First, we need to gather evidence against her. The security footage is a start, but we need more. Something undeniable," I explain, my mind already strategizing. "I'm thinking of hiring a private investigator to dig into her activities. If she's been this devious, there's got to be more dirt on her." Jake leans back, his expression thoughtful. "I know a guy who's good at this sort of thing. Discreet and thorough. I'll give him a call." As Jake makes the call, I sip my beer, trying to keep my emotions in check. The anger and betrayal bubble beneath the surface, but I know I need to stay focused. Jake finishes the call and turns back to me. "He'll meet us tomorrow morning. In the meantime, do you think Emma suspects anything?" I shake my head. "No. She thinks I'm clueless. She's careful, but arrogance is her weakness. She believes she's smarter than everyone else." "Then let's use that to our advantage," Jake says, a determined look in his eyes. "We'll catch her off guard." The next morning, I meet Jake and the private investigator, a grizzled man named Tom, at a small cafe. Tom listens intently as I lay out the situation, nodding occasionally. "This is a messy one," Tom finally says, his voice gravelly. "But I've handled worse. I'll need access to her phone records, emails, and any other communication channels. If she's been this active, there'll be a trail." I hand over the necessary details, feeling a flicker of hope. "How long do you think it'll take?" "Depends on how deep this goes," Tom replies. "But I'll start digging immediately. You'll hear from me soon." As the days pass, I maintain my facade of normalcy at home and work. Emma continues her charade, acting the dutiful wife, while I pretend nothing's amiss. The tension is palpable, but I keep my anger in check, focusing on the endgame. A week later, Tom calls. "I've got something for you. Meet me at my office." Jake and I arrive at Tom's dingy office, the air thick with anticipation. Tom greets us with a grim expression, sliding a folder across the desk. "Your wife's been busy," he says, flipping open the folder. Inside are photographs, emails, and financial records, each piece of evidence painting a damning picture of Emma's deceit. She's been siphoning money from our joint account, funneling it into a secret offshore account. There are emails to Richard discussing their plans, explicit photos, and even a fake passport under a different name. "She was planning to leave me and start a new life," I say, my voice hollow with realization. Tom nods. "Looks like it. And she was going to take a lot of money with her." Jake slams his fist on the desk, fury etched on his face. "That bitch. We need to take her down." "I agree," I say, feeling a cold resolve settle over me. "But we need to be smart about it. We need to expose her and Richard in a way that leaves no room for doubt." We spend the next few hours planning our counterattack. Tom suggests leaking the evidence to key stakeholders at Syntech and the media, ensuring maximum exposure. Jake offers to handle the technical side, setting up anonymous accounts to distribute the information without it tracing back to us. By the time we leave Tom's office, the plan is in motion. I feel a strange mix of dread and exhilaration. This is it. Emma's carefully constructed world is about to come crashing down. The next morning, I'm at work early, my heart pounding with anticipation. Richard's office door is ajar, and I see him pacing inside. I step in, closing the door behind me. "It's time," I say simply. Richard looks at me, a mixture of relief and apprehension on his face. "Are you sure about this?" "Positive," I reply. "We need to end this, once and for all." I walk over to the window, looking out at the city below. "We're going to leak everything, the affair, the theft, the offshore account. She's going to be exposed for who she really is." Richard nods, a determined look crossing his features. "Let's do it." Hours later, the first wave hits. Emails are sent to Synteca's board members, detailing Emma's crimes and Richard's involvement. Anonymous tips flood the inboxes of major news outlets. The scandal breaks like a tidal wave, sweeping through the company and beyond. Emma's phone starts ringing off the hook, panic setting in. I watch from a distance as she frantically tries to contain the damage, but it's too late. The evidence is overwhelming, and the world now knows the truth. By the end of the day, Emma is fired, escorted out of the building by security. Richard faces severe repercussions, though he manages to avoid complete ruin by cooperating with the investigation. I, however, walk away unscathed, my reputation intact. Jake and I sit at the brass tap that evening, the weight of the past few weeks lifting off my shoulders. "You did it," Jake says, raising his glass. "You took her down." I nod, a grim satisfaction settling over me. She got what she deserved. As I sip my beer, I feel a strange sense of closure. Emma's betrayal cut deep, but I've come out stronger. The past is behind me, and for the first time in a long while, I look forward to the future. The game is over, and I've won. Now, it's time to rebuild my life, free from the shadows of deceit. A month has passed since Emma's downfall, and the dust is beginning to settle. Syntech Corp has moved on from the scandal, and Richard, although still employed, is a shadow of his former self. As for me, life has started to regain a semblance of normalcy. But just as I begin to believe that I can move forward, a new development pulls me back into the chaos. It's a Friday afternoon, and I'm at my desk, going through the usual end-of-week reports. My phone buzzes, and I see a text from Jake, urgent. "Meet me at our bar ASAP." Puzzled and slightly anxious, I grab my jacket and head out. The brass tap is only a few blocks away, and as I enter, I spot Jake in a corner booth, his expression tense. "What's going on?" I ask, sliding into the seat across from him. Jake leans in, lowering his voice. David, you're not going to believe this. Emma's been trying to contact me. What? I say, disbelief washing over me. Why would she do that? She wants to meet, Jake explains. She says it's urgent and that she has information we need to know. I scoff, shaking my head. Why should we believe anything she says? She's the reason we went through all that hell. I know, Jake replies, his brow furrowed. But she sounded desperate. It might be worth hearing her out. Reluctantly, I agree. Fine. Let's set up a meeting. But we need to be cautious. This could be another trap. Jake nods and texts Emma back. We arrange to meet at a neutral location, a park in the middle of the city, crowded enough to ensure safety but private enough for a serious conversation. The next day, Jake and I arrive at the park early. The tension is palpable as we wait. Finally, Emma appears, looking disheveled and nervous. She spots us and walks over, her eyes darting around as if she's being watched. David, Jake, she says, her voice trembling. Thank you for meeting me. Cut to the chase, Emma, I say, my tone cold. What do you want? She takes a deep breath, visibly struggling to compose herself. I know you have no reason to trust me, but you need to hear this. There's something bigger going on, something that involves Richard and Syntech. Jake and I exchange a skeptical glance. What are you talking about? Jake asks. Emma looks around again, lowering her voice. Richard and I were part of a bigger scheme. He's been using company resources for illegal activities, money laundering, insider trading. I thought I could use it to my advantage, but it got out of hand. When you exposed us, Richard panicked. He's trying to cover his tracks, and he'll do anything to keep his secrets safe. My mind races, trying to process her words. Why should we believe you? You've lied about everything else. I have proof, Emma says urgently, pulling a USB drive from her pocket. Emails, documents, financial records, everything. I kept it as insurance. If you don't believe me, check it yourself. Jake takes the USB drive, eyeing it warily. If this is true, why come to us? Why not go to the authorities? Because Richard has connections everywhere, Emma explains, desperation creeping into her voice. He'll find out if I go to the police. But you can expose him without him knowing where it came from. I stare at Emma, trying to gauge her sincerity. And what do you get out of this? Protection, she admits. I need your help to disappear. If Richard finds out I've betrayed him, he'll come after me. Jake and I step aside, discussing our options in hushed tones. What do you think? I ask. Jake shrugs. It could be another lie, but if she's telling the truth, this is huge. We need to verify the information on that drive. I nod, returning to Emma. We'll check the files. If they're legit, we'll consider helping you. But if you're playing us again, there will be consequences. Emma nods, relief washing over her face. Thank you, David. You won't regret this. Back at Jake's apartment, we plug in the USB drive and start sifting through the files. What we find is staggering: detailed records of illicit transactions, incriminating emails between Richard and various accomplices, and evidence of significant financial misappropriation. It's more than enough to bring Richard down. This is insane, Jake mutters, scrolling through the documents. She was telling the truth. We need to act fast, I say, adrenaline pumping. We need to get this to the authorities, but we need to do it in a way that doesn't trace back to us. Jake nods, already thinking ahead. We'll send it anonymously to the SEC and the media. But we need to make sure Emma's safe. If Richard finds out she's the source, she's as good as dead. I hesitate, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. Helping Emma feels wrong after everything she's done, but the evidence is too important to ignore. All right. We'll help her disappear. But once this is over, she's on her own. Jake agrees, and we start making arrangements. We use our contacts to secure a fake identity and new location for Emma, ensuring she can vanish without a trace. Meanwhile, we prepare the evidence for dissemination. 2 days later, the story breaks. Major news outlets pick up the scandal, and the SEC launches an investigation. Richard's empire crumbles overnight as his crimes are laid bare for the world to see. The fallout is swift and brutal, with arrests and resignations rippling through Syntech. As for Emma, she slips away into the night, leaving behind the wreckage of her old life. I feel a strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness. The truth is out, justice is served, but the cost has been high. Jake and I sit at the brass tap, reflecting on the whirlwind events. We did it, Jake says, raising his glass. Yeah, I reply, clinking my glass against his. But I can't shake the feeling that there's more to come. Richard won't go down without a fight. Jake nods, a determined look in his eyes. We'll be ready. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. As I take a sip of my beer, I glance around the bar, feeling a sense of resolve. The past few months have tested me in ways I never imagined, but I've come out stronger. The battle might not be over, but I'm ready for whatever comes next. The game continues, and this time, I'm prepared to play to win. The weeks following the exposé of Richard's crimes are a whirlwind of legal battles and media frenzy. Syntech is under intense scrutiny, with executives scrambling to distance themselves from the fallout. Richard himself is out on bail, awaiting trial, his once powerful empire in tatters. Jake and I stay vigilant, knowing that Richard might retaliate. The evidence we provided anonymously continues to unravel his network of corruption. But amidst the chaos, an uneasy feeling gnaws at me. Something doesn't sit right. One evening, as I'm going through the latest news reports, my phone buzzes. It's Tom, the private investigator. David, we need to talk. Urgently, Tom says, his tone grave. What's going on? I ask, tension coiling in my chest. Meet me at the old warehouse near the docks. I've uncovered something you need to see. I agree and hang up, my mind racing. Jake insists on coming with me, and we drive to the warehouse, a dilapidated structure on the edge of town. We find Tom inside, pacing anxiously. What's this about, Tom? Jake asks, stepping forward. Tom hands me a folder, his expression serious. I kept digging, even after we exposed Richard. I wanted to make sure there were no loose ends. And I found something about Emma. My heart skips a beat as I open the folder. Inside are photos, documents, and surveillance footage, all pointing to a chilling revelation. Emma's betrayal goes deeper than we thought. She was working with Richard long before you knew about the affair, Tom explains. She wasn't just his lover, she was his partner in crime. The whole scheme, the theft, the frame-up, it was her idea. She played both sides, manipulating you and Richard for her own gain. The room spins as the pieces fall into place. Emma's desperation, her plea for help, the evidence she provided, it was all part of her plan. She used us to destroy Richard, ensuring her own escape. That bitch, Jake mutters, anger flashing in his eyes. She played us all along. We need to find her, I say, my voice trembling with rage. She's not getting away with this. Tom nods. I've been tracking her movements. She's still in the city, hiding out under a new alias. But you need to be careful. She's dangerous and desperate. With Tom's information, we track Emma to a seedy motel on the outskirts of town. The place is a dump, a far cry from the life she once lived. As we approach her room, I steel myself for the confrontation. I knock on the door, and after a tense moment, it swings open. Emma stands there, her eyes widening in shock. David? Jake? What are you doing here? We know everything, Emma, I say, my voice cold. Your lies, your schemes. It's over. Emma's face hardens, a flicker of fear replaced by defiance. You don't understand. I had no choice. Richard was going to ruin us both. I did what I had to survive. Save it, Jake snaps. You betrayed us, used us. There's no excuse for what you've done. I step forward, my anger boiling over. You played me, Emma. You pretended to love me while conspiring against me. Why? Was it all just a game to you? Her eyes flash with anger. You were always so naive, David. So trusting. I saw an opportunity and I took it. Richard was a means to an end, just like you. The words cut deep, but they also fuel my resolve. You won't get away with this, I say. We're turning you in. You'll face the consequences for everything you've done. Emma's expression shifts to panic. Wait, we can make a deal. I still have information, valuable information. We can use it to negotiate. Enough. I shout. No more deals, no more lies. It's over, Emma. Before she can react, Tom steps forward, his phone already dialing the authorities. You're going to prison, Emma. There's no escaping this time. Emma's face crumples as the weight of her actions sinks in. She slumps against the doorframe, defeated. You're right. It's over. The police arrive moments later, arresting Emma and taking her into custody. As they lead her away, she casts one last, desperate look at me. David, I'm sorry. But her words fall flat. There's no room for forgiveness, no chance for redemption. The woman I once loved is gone, replaced by a ruthless manipulator. As the police car drives away, Jake and I stand in silence. The ordeal has taken its toll, but there's a sense of closure. The deception is finally laid bare, and the people responsible are facing justice. We did it, Jake says quietly. It's finally over. I nod, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow. Yeah, it's over. But as we walk away from the motel, I know that the scars will remain. The betrayal, the lies, the shattered trust, they've changed me. And while I'm free from Emma's grasp, the memory of her deceit will linger. In the end, we part ways, each of us carrying the weight of the past. Jake returns to his life, and I to mine, both forever marked by the experience. The hatred for the cheating and the manipulation drives a wedge between us, a reminder of the darkness we faced. As I stand alone, looking out at the city lights, I take a deep breath. The game is over, but the lessons remain. Trust is fragile, and betrayal can come from the unlikeliest of places. But in the face of deceit, there's also strength. And that strength is what will carry me forward, into a future free from the shadows of the past.